In the closing chapters of World War II, the tides had turned against Nazi Germany. The Allies were closing in from the west, the Soviets from the east, and the question echoed through the war-torn landscapes. Why did the Germans keep fighting from 1944 to 45? In the face of a crumbling German war machine that had once astonished the world, with cities now reduced to rubble and defeat looming on the horizon, the tenacity of the German forces defied all reason. Why did surrender elude them? What compelled them to persist in the face of apparent inevitability? The planning of offensives in 1945, where victory seemed impossible, raises questions about their motivations. How did the soldiers find the will to press on, even as the fighting reached the heart of Berlin? Welcome back to History at War, where we uncover history. Anyway, let's get started. In the aftermath of the Battle of Kursk, commonly referred to as Operation Citadel, the undeniable reality emerged. The entire German war machine was in full retreat. The grandeur of massive German offensives became a relic of the past, a strategic gamble that had lost its luster. For many, the fall of Stalingrad marked the watershed moment, the true turning point that sealed the fate of the Axis powers. From the pivotal year of 1943 onward, the trajectory was unmistakably downward, akin to a relentless descent in pursuit of a shattered dream. The battlefields became a canvas of fading hopes, where the echoes of a once formidable war machine now resonated with the somber tones of retreat and regression. Even before Operation Citadel, in January 1943, the Allies' demand for German unconditional surrender became a seismic moment for the Third Reich. This call for surrender wasn't just a strategic move. It was a stark ultimatum that reverberated through the corridors of power in Nazi Germany. Unconditional surrender meant more than just the end of military hostilities. It meant the fall of Hitler himself. The Allies, resolute in their pursuit of victory, sought to bring an unequivocal conclusion to the war and dismantle the Nazi regime. Hitler was adamant on a no-formal surrender. In the aftermath of World War I, Germany faced a devastating defeat in 1918. The Treaty of Versailles imposed harsh conditions, leading to economic turmoil and national humiliation. Hitler, haunted by this historical backdrop, was determined to prevent a similar fate for Germany. The fear of a repeat scenario fueled his decision-making throughout World War II. Hitler's mindset was paradoxical. He was willing to accept a heroic defeat rather than an early capitulation. This unconventional approach stemmed from his belief in the importance of a dramatic and defiant end. To him, surrendering too soon would be a betrayal of the nationalist and militaristic ideologies he championed. This determination, however, came at a grave cost, disregarding the immense human suffering that happened to his fight till the end rhetoric. At the core of Hitler's determination was his commitment to a nationalist ideology. In the concept of a greater Germany, Hitler would refuse to surrender to what he called Bolshevism, meaning surrendering was not an option by any means, which would result in dragging on the war and costing more lives. For the German soldiers during the period from 1944 to 1945, the allure of so-called wonder weapons became a constant echo in their ears. These promises, grand and hopeful, painted a picture of technological marvels that would miraculously tip the scales of the war in Germany's favor. The propaganda machine worked tirelessly to feed the troops tales of groundbreaking advancements that would mark a turning point, a decisive moment that would snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. Among the most celebrated achievements were the development and deployment of cutting-edge jet planes, exemplified by the likes of the Messerschmitt Me 262 and the futuristic Horten Ho 229. These aircraft represented a leap forward in technology, boasting superior speed and performance compared to their Allied counterparts. In the air, German pilots clung to the belief that they held a distinct advantage, buoyed by the promise of these revolutionary flying machines. On the ground, the Panzerfight Maus and the mythical Landkreuzer P-1000 Rata loomed large in the soldiers' imaginations. The mere mention of these behemoth tanks sparked visions of unstoppable armored might, capable of turning the tide of any land-based confrontation. However, the reality was starkly different. Only prototypes of the Maus were produced, and the Ratte remained a fantastical creation never to see the battlefield. What makes this narrative particularly poignant is the intersection of hope and deception found in the first-hand memoirs of German soldiers. Many chronicled in diaries and books the anticipation and excitement fueled by the belief that these futuristic weapons were on the brink of changing their fortunes. The German High Command wove a tapestry of wishful lies, assuring the troops that, no matter the current circumstances, the wonder weapons were on the verge of unleashing a game-changing shift in the war's dynamics. In retrospect, these tales of technological salvation served as a bittersweet narrative for the soldiers. The promises of wonder weapons were a desperate attempt to maintain morale, masking the harsh reality of Germany's dwindling prospects. It was a sad lie, a collective delusion that for a fleeting moment allowed the German soldiers to dream of a victorious outcome, one that tragically was never destined to materialize. During the Western Allied offensive, especially after the failed Operation Market Garden and the small successful operations against the Soviet Union late in the war, one of the key elements of this was the portrayal of the Allies as being on the brink of collapse. German soldiers were fed narratives highlighting heavy casualties among the Soviets on the Eastern Front and painting a picture of internal strife and discord among the Allied forces. These narratives were carefully crafted to create a sense of impending victory. Even in 1944, when everything was against the Germans, they started fostering the belief that the enemies were weakened and demoralized. The German soldiers were also led to believe that the vast resources of the United States were being squandered, portraying the Allies as inefficient and wasteful in their war efforts. This narrative aimed to create a perception that, despite the material advantage of the Allies, the Germans possessed superior strategic acumen and resilience. This psychological manipulation served a dual purpose. On one hand, it bolstered the morale of German troops, instilling in them a sense of confidence and determination. On the other hand, it aimed to suppress any doubts or questions about the sustainability of the German war machine. By creating a narrative of imminent victory and portraying the Allies as faltering, the Nazi regime sought to maintain cohesion and commitment among its soldiers, even in the face of mounting challenges. To the German soldiers, the idea of settling for peace at this stage wasn't optional. The prospect of peace seemed more like a veiled threat than a promise of relief. The horrors of war were already a bitter reality, but the idea of surrendering unconditionally meant facing an uncertain fate at the mercy of the victorious Allies. Rumors of retribution and occupation loomed large, creating a climate of uncertainty that made the known brutality of war seem preferable. The Allied demand for unconditional surrender left no room for negotiation or guarantees of Germany's future. It was a stark choice between fighting to the bitter end or submitting to an unpredictable destiny. The notion that Germany would be occupied for an extended period only fueled the determination to resist, as surrendering meant not just defeat, but also a potential loss of sovereignty and self-determination. The German soldiers, driven by a mix of patriotism, fear of the unknown, and a stubborn belief that they could still somehow alter the course of history, held onto their resolve. It was a desperate hope that perseverance in the face of overwhelming odds might lead to a more favorable outcome, or at least mitigate the harsh consequences of defeat. As the Allies approached Germany's borders, a powerful narrative of defending home took root among the German population. The belief in the need to resist to the death was fueled by a deep-seated commitment to protect their families and homeland from the perceived threat posed by the advancing Allies. Massive propaganda played a pivotal role in amplifying the sense of urgency and the dire consequences that awaited German civilians if the Allies were to succeed. Images of potential occupation, reprisals, and the specter of a disrupted way of life were painted vividly, instilling a sense of fear and desperation. The idea of defending their families from an impending invasion became a rallying cry that resonated with many Germans. It wasn't just a matter of military strategy, it was a deeply personal and emotional call to arms. The fear of what might happen to loved ones under occupation, combined with a strong sense of duty and loyalty, solidified the resolve to fight to the last. As the war reached Germany's doorstep, the belief in the necessity of resistance became deeply intertwined with the protection of civilians. It was a mindset that transcended political ideology and embraced a collective determination to shield families and homes from the perceived threats posed by the advancing Allies. In the face of such emotional and existential stakes, surrender seemed not only a military defeat, but a betrayal of the very core of familial and national values. This sentiment played a significant role in shaping the German resistance, driving them to continue the fight until the very end, even when the odds were overwhelmingly against them. A curious notion took root among many German soldiers, fostering a glimmer of hope amidst the encroaching darkness. The belief that the Western Allies and the German High Command might forge an alliance against the common foe in the East, the Soviets, became a whispered anticipation among those on the front lines. Some German memoirs from that period reveal a shared sentiment among soldiers who clung to the idea that an arrangement with the Western Allies was imminent. Phrases like, "We still await until we fight with the West, hopefully soon we will fight the Ivan together," echoed the belief that a shift in alliances could alter the course of the war. This notion, born out of desperation and a desire to find an alternative to the looming defeat, became a source of speculation and discussion. The hope for a last-minute collaboration with the Western Allies against the common Soviet enemy fueled the perseverance of German soldiers who saw it as a potential lifeline in the waning days of the conflict. However, this expectation remained largely unfulfilled as geopolitical realities and the Allies' commitment to unconditional surrender prevailed. As we conclude our examination of why Germany resisted surrender from 1944 to 1945, it's crucial to acknowledge the role of personal choices, strategic considerations, and a complex web of factors. One powerful force that cannot be overlooked is the impact of massive German propaganda. Propaganda played a pivotal role in shaping public opinion, fostering a sense of determination, and, in some cases, creating a distorted perception of the war's progress. The influence of propaganda on the individual and collective psyche added another layer to the reasons behind Germany's relentless fight until total defeat. Our journey through history has revealed that the decision to surrender or persist is a nuanced interplay of personal choices, strategic considerations, and the formidable influence of propaganda. Before we wrap up, a special shout out to our incredible Patreon members. Your support keeps the channel going strong, and I can't thank you enough. Without the help of Patreon, this channel wouldn't be possible since we run through many problems with monetization due to our history videos. If you're not part of the crew yet, consider hitting that join button below to unlock exclusive perks and join our inner circle. And for even more behind-the-scenes access and perks, check out our Patreon link in the description. Your support means the world to us, and we can't wait to welcome you aboard.